The crimson light of Xylar, a binary sun notorious for its erratic flares, pulsed across the obsidian floor of the grand conclave chamber. Shadows danced and writhed on the colossal obsidian pillars that supported the vast dome, reflecting the churning unease that gripped the assembled representatives of the galactic concordat. Each sentient species, from the crystalline krill to the gaseous Aravians, had dispatched its most seasoned diplomats and strategists to this emergency session, their faces etched with a grim premonition. At the heart of the chamber, suspended in a stasis field of shimmering blue, rested the shattered remains of a reconnaissance vessel, a silent testament to an unprecedented act of defiance, a chilling declaration of intent emanating from a world they had, until recently, dismissed as insignificant: Earth. Across the chamber, seated within a tiered row of ornate bioseats, Ambassador Velnar of the Krill Collective, a being of pure, structured crystal, emitted a low, resonant hum. The sound, a form of internal communication amongst krill, betrayed the anxiety that threatened to fracture their normally stoic composure. The audacity, she finally intoned, her voice echoing with the clarity of a polished diamond. To destroy a concordat vessel without provocation, to claim dominion over a star system deemed irrelevant, it defies all known protocols. The Aravian delegate, a swirling nebula of iridescent gases known as Zephyr, shifted its form, a subtle indication of its complex and rapidly changing emotional state. Irrelevant perhaps until now, Zephyr's voice rippled through the chamber, a whisper carried on the currents of the internal atmosphere. The warnings, while dismissed, were explicit. The readings, the anomalous energy signatures, the resonance. Zephyr hesitated, its form momentarily coalescing into a more solid, almost humanoid shape. We discounted them as anomalies, statistical fluctuations. We underestimated the tenacity of these beings. A wave of murmuring rippled through the chamber. The implications of this latest act were devastating. The Concordat, a fragile alliance forged through millennia of shared adversity, was built upon the principles of mutual respect and non-aggression. Yet the beings of Earth, those primitive, newly discovered sentients, had shattered that foundation with a single brutal act. The very fabric of galactic order was being strained, possibly torn apart. The Grand Arbiter, Kale, a towering being from the Zidonian Empire, a species known for their stern pragmatism, raised a hand, silencing the chamber. Kale, a creature of imposing stature and glacial composure, had witnessed the rise and fall of countless empires. His gaze, piercing and unwavering, swept across the assembled delegates. "The situation is dire," Kale's voice, a deep, resonant rumble, echoed through the chamber. "We have convened to determine a course of action. We will not allow a single act of aggression to dictate the future of the Concordat. We must determine the extent of their capabilities, their motivations, and most importantly, how to prevent this from happening again." A heated debate erupted, a cacophony of panicked pronouncements and veiled accusations. The Krill, fearing the fragility of their crystalline forms, demanded immediate retaliatory action. The Aravians, their perceptions clouded by the swirling chaos of their internal states, advocated for caution, urging a deeper understanding of the Earthlings. The Zidonians, maintaining their customary rigidness, called for a calculated and decisive response. The air in the chamber became thick with tension, each species viewing the others through the prism of their own fears and prejudices. The crux of the matter, the unspoken fear that gnawed at the heart of the debate, was the unknown. The Earthlings, despite their primitive technology, had shown a disconcerting ability to anticipate and neutralize any attempt at contact or reconnaissance. Their actions were illogical, defiant, and yet disturbingly efficient. Their sudden emergence, their apparent disregard for established galactic norms, and their ability to annihilate a Concordat vessel in a single decisive strike had sent shockwaves through the entire galaxy. Velnar, struggling to control her crystalline form, argued, "Their technology is irrelevant. Their aggression is not. We must demonstrate the strength of the Concordat. We must show them that such acts will not be tolerated. A swift and decisive response is imperative. We must dispatch a fleet, a show of force that will drive this barbarous species back into the darkness from which they emerged." Zephyr, its gaseous form rippling with unease, countered, "A display of force will only escalate the conflict. We know nothing of their motivations. Perhaps they are merely reacting to what they perceive as a threat. We must attempt communication, understand their perspective. To engage in a war with a species we know so little about is to court catastrophe." Kale, his gaze unflinching, assessed the arguments. He was a veteran of countless galactic conflicts, and he knew the perils of both rash action and paralyzed inaction. He addressed the assembly, his voice cutting through the rising tide of emotions. "We must proceed with caution, but also with resolve. We will not be dictated to by fear. We will not allow the Concordat to be shattered by a species whose very existence was, until recently, unknown to us. We will undertake a multi-pronged approach." He paused, letting the silence settle over the chamber. "First, we will establish a dedicated task force composed of the most skilled linguists, xenopsychologists, and tacticians in the Concordat. They will be tasked with deciphering the Earthlings' language, understanding their culture, and assessing their capabilities. Second, we will establish a quarantine zone around their star system. No unauthorized vessel will be permitted to enter or exit. Third." Kale paused again, a hint of something unreadable in his gaze. "We will make an attempt at communication. We will offer them a chance to explain their actions and begin a path to peaceful relations. We will send a delegation." The decision hung in the air, a risky gamble that could either avert a galaxy-wide war or ignite one. The delegates shifted uneasily, each struggling to reconcile their ingrained prejudices with the very real threat posed by Earth. The unknown was a terrifying thing. The chamber waited in tense silence. Years bled into decades. The quarantine zone was erected, a shimmering barrier of energy surrounding Earth's domain. Teams of linguists and xenopsychologists worked around the clock, poring over fragmented transmissions, analyzing the subtle nuances of Earthling broadcasts, and striving to penetrate the enigmatic culture. The very concept of understanding the Earthlings was a monumental task. Their languages were baffling, their artistic expressions were incomprehensible. Their history was a chaotic jumble of wars, conquests, and technological leaps, and their moral codes were contradictory. Their very existence was a puzzle that defied every attempt at comprehension. The task force's reports were bleak and contradictory. The Earthlings possessed advanced weaponry, possibly even faster-than-light capabilities. Their societies were divided by ideologies, yet despite their obvious differences, they possessed a remarkable capacity for cooperation. Their history was rife with violence, yet their philosophical musings often spoke of peace and understanding. They seemed to be, by all accounts, an unpredictable and enigmatic species. After countless failed attempts at communication, a breakthrough came in the form of a complex, multi-layered transmission, a combination of mathematical equations, artistic renderings, and philosophical treatises. It was an invitation, a gesture of peace and an explanation. The message, translated by the Concordat's most skilled linguists, revealed a shocking truth. The Earthlings hadn't attacked the reconnaissance vessel out of malice or aggression. They had reacted in what they had considered self-defense. They had detected the vessel's approach, identified it as a potential threat, and engaged in a preemptive strike, interpreting the act as a defense of their own domain. They had been aware of the Concordat's presence for some time, aware of its interest in their star system, but had chosen to remain silent, studying, observing, and learning. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Grand Conclave. The Earthlings were not the mindless barbarians they had been portrayed to be. They were intelligent, calculating, and above all, deeply cautious. They had ignored the warnings, not because they were incapable of understanding, but because they had chosen to understand. The delegation, composed of the bravest from the Concordat, prepared to embark on their journey to enter the unknown to meet the people of Earth. The arrival was unlike anything the Concordat delegates could have imagined. Instead of an imposing military complex, they were greeted by a structure of gleaming white that radiated an aura of quiet efficiency, a place of peace. Instead of the hostile reception they had expected, they were met by a team of human scientists and diplomats, their faces open, their eyes curious, and their manner calm. The lead human, a woman with kind eyes and a welcoming smile, extended her hand. "Welcome," she said, her voice clear and strong. "We are delighted you have come." The meeting took place in a sterile yet elegant room. The walls were lined with monitors displaying complex charts and diagrams. Humans, dressed in simple, functional garments, sat across from the representatives of the Concordat. The air was filled with a palpable sense of anticipation and a feeling of cautious hope. The human leader introduced herself as Dr. Aris Thorne, a specialist in astrophysics and diplomacy. Her team included experts in various fields, from bioengineering to theoretical physics. They were, it turned out, the vanguard of a civilization that had, for centuries, looked beyond their own world, studying the cosmos with a relentless curiosity. Dr. Thorne spoke of their history, of the wars they had fought, and the ideals they had strived to achieve. She spoke of their belief in the value of all life. She spoke of their desire for peace. She explained the logic behind their actions, how they had developed the technology to understand the Concordat's presence, how they had been watching, observing, and finally acting. Her explanations were detailed, logical, and thoroughly convincing. They had, she said, acted only out of the desire to safeguard their own planet, their own people. The representatives of the Concordat listened in rapt silence, their preconceived notions crumbling before the sheer clarity of the humans' words. They witnessed the display of technology that surpassed even their wildest expectations. The humans demonstrated their ability to harness energy, to travel the vast distances of space with extraordinary speed and precision. They presented their advancements in medicine and technology. What the humans showed them was a civilization of profound ingenuity and an unwavering commitment to the pursuit of knowledge. The Krill, their crystal bodies shimmering with a new understanding, were the first to voice their change of heart. Ambassador Velnar, now with a newfound respect in her voice, said, "We were wrong, we misjudged, we feared what we did not understand, we underestimated you." Zephyr, its gaseous form swirling with acceptance, added, "The unknown is a daunting thing, but the fear is often more potent than the reality. We have learned much." Kale, the Zidonian arbiter, the pragmatic voice of reason, finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of wisdom. "We have witnessed your capabilities, your ethics, and your commitment to peace. We are humbled. Your actions, your understanding, and your wisdom have earned our respect." He paused, his gaze fixed on Dr. Thorne. "We believe the Concordat could benefit greatly from an alliance with humanity. Your capabilities would be of tremendous benefit to us. Together, we can safeguard the galaxy." Dr. Thorne listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "We are honored by your offer," she said. "We, too, desire peace and understand the value of unity, but an alliance must be based on more than just mutual benefit. It must be built on trust, understanding, and a shared vision of the future." The humans, in a display that caught the entire Concordat by surprise, laid bare their strategic thinking. They revealed their long-term plan, their plans for exploring the depths of space, their research into faster-than-light travel, and their detailed analysis of potential threats. They detailed their plans not for domination, but for cooperation, offering the Concordat access to technologies that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Then they made a final, staggering reveal. On the screen, a series of complex data streams began to coalesce into a coherent image. It depicted a vast, ancient structure, a megastructure, larger than any known civilization in the galaxy, a structure that pulsed with an unknown energy signature and a message. A message that dated back eons, a message that heralded the coming of a threat the Concordat had failed to identify. A cosmic threat, the real reason why the Earthlings had prepared, the reason why they had acted, and the reason why they had extended their hand in peace. The message spoke of a civilization, an ancient and powerful force that consumed entire galaxies. They were relentless, insatiable, and they were approaching. They had been, the message said, drawn to the universe's most vibrant clusters of life, and Earth was one of them. The humans had been aware of this threat for centuries, deciphering the ancient signals, studying the data, and preparing for the inevitable arrival. They had chosen to remain silent, to wait, to learn, to prepare the tools needed to combat this cosmic threat. The warning hadn't been an act of aggression, but a call to arms, a plea for unity, a desperate hope. The chamber fell silent, the weight of the revelation pressing down on every delegate. The Krill, the Aravians, the Zidonians all stared at the message, the immensity of the impending threat crushing any remaining doubts. The humans had not been the threat. They had been the saviors. Dr. Thorne turned to the delegates, her expression one of steely resolve. "This is why we acted," she said. "This is why we extended our hand in peace. We are ready to fight." The diplomatic council was then converted into a war room. Plans were discussed. Strategies were developed. Technologies were shared. The resources of both civilizations were combined, and a new alliance, the Union of the Stars, was forged. The fear was replaced by hope, the hostility by cooperation. They knew that the fight would be long and difficult, and that the future of the galaxy rested upon their ability to fight against this impending doom. But for the first time in a long time, the delegates of the Concordat and humanity were united by a common purpose. They were ready. The Krill, their crystal bodies humming with a new sense of purpose, offered their expertise in defensive strategies. The Aravians, masters of energy manipulation, provided their knowledge of the cosmos. The Zidonians, with their pragmatic approach to warfare, developed tactics. And the humans, with their ingenuity, their technological prowess, and their commitment to cooperation, took the lead, their minds already developing strategies that would shape the future of the galaxy. The days that followed were a blur of activity. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from across the galaxy worked together, pooling their knowledge, sharing their experiences, and building an arsenal of defenses. New weapons were developed. New strategies were formulated. The future of the galaxy was being crafted in the crucible of this extraordinary alliance. The first scouting reports came in, showing the vast and terrifying force of the invaders. A tide of destruction, a swarm of ships moving through the void, a testament to the endless hunger for conquest. This was more than a battle, it was a cosmic battle for survival. The initial engagement took place on the outskirts of the Concordat's territory. The combined fleets of the Concordat and humanity met the invaders head-on. The battle was a maelstrom of destruction, a clash of energy weapons, and a dance of death. Despite the combined firepower, the invaders were relentless. They were not driven by logic or morality, they were driven by a hunger for destruction. Against the odds, the combined fleet held the line. The humans, with their tactical genius and unwavering resolve, led the charge. The Krill, with their defenses, endured. The Aravians, with their mastery of energy, struck back. Together, they inflicted heavy losses upon the invaders, slowing their advance, buying precious time. The battle raged for weeks, spreading across the vast gulf of space. The losses were heavy and the outcome uncertain. The weight of the galaxy rested upon their shoulders. But they fought on. During the war, a new and unexpected facet of humanity's capabilities came to light. The humans, it turned out, possessed a deep understanding of the invaders. Centuries before any contact with the Concordat, humanity had intercepted the invaders' transmissions, had deciphered their languages, and had come to a chilling realization. They had learned to predict their strategies, their movements, and their weaknesses. This knowledge, combined with the innovative technological concepts, turned the tide. Humanity's ability to predict and counter the invaders' moves, combined with the combined forces, technological prowess, was the advantage the combined forces of humanity and the Concordat needed. Each battle won, each defensive position held, each ship destroyed, was a testament to the power of unity and the sheer determination of the beings who had come together to defend their home. The tide began to turn. The invaders, used to effortless conquest, began to falter. The combined fleets, boosted by human expertise, started to push them back. The war, which had once seemed hopeless, now had a glimmer of hope. The final battle took place near the heart of the Concordat, in the solar system where the invasion began. The battle was enormous. Thousands of ships, representing every sentient species, clashed with the relentless forces of the cosmic invaders. The Earthlings, at the forefront of the fighting, unleashed everything they had. The battle lasted for months, a bloody and brutal struggle for survival. Finally, after a devastating assault, the invaders were broken. Their ships, ravaged and depleted, retreated, vanishing into the darkness from which they had emerged. The war was over. The galaxy, battered but unbowed, had been saved. The victory, however, came at a heavy cost. Many lives were lost. Many worlds were destroyed. But the unity of the Union of the Stars had prevailed. The survivors gathered in the grand conclave chamber, their faces etched with grief and exhaustion, their hearts filled with a profound sense of gratitude. They had survived, and they had won. Dr. Thorne, now regarded as a hero, stood before them, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "We have faced the darkness," she said, her voice resonating with power, "and we have emerged victorious. But the fight is not over. The universe is vast, and the threats are many. We must be vigilant. We must continue to work together, united in our purpose, in order to create a better future. Humanity will remain a part of the Concordat. We shall continue to contribute, and the Concordat will flourish with our efforts, as well as the efforts of all of our newfound allies." She paused, then continued, "We were underestimated, yes, but that's because we chose to be misunderstood. Our goal, as always, was to protect our home. The act of destroying a vessel was never and will never be out of malice. We value every living thing, but our first priority will always be the safety of our kind." The chamber erupted in applause. The Krill, their crystal forms shimmering with pride, resonated with a chorus of approval. Zephyr, its gaseous form swirling with exhilaration, echoed the sentiment of the entire alliance, expressing that humanity's contributions would be forever remembered and respected. Kale, his gaze as steady as ever, declared that humanity's actions had demonstrated the true potential of unity. The alliance that was formed was a testament to humanity's actions. The union of the stars had been forged in the fires of war. It was a new chapter, a testament to the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of life. But as the celebrations began, a new transmission was detected, a message from the ancient megastructure. This time it was a warning. The threat had been driven back, but it had not been destroyed. It was out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to return. The message went on. It contained a set of coordinates, a destination, a new frontier. Humanity, it turned out, had not only saved the galaxy but discovered something of even greater importance. The coordinates indicated the location of a lost race, a civilization that had possessed incredible technology, a civilization that could hold the key to truly conquering the vast and dangerous reaches of space. This race had the potential to change everything. Humanity and the Concordat would have to venture into the unknown once more. Dr. Thorne looked out over the assembled delegates, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and resolve. "The journey has just begun," she said, her voice filled with hope and the promise of a brighter future. "Let us embark together, and let us meet the challenges that lie ahead with courage, wisdom, and a united spirit. The Earth's domain, and the domain of all that is good and just, shall forever be defended in every corner of the cosmos." The crimson light of Xylar pulsed across the obsidian floor, a beacon of hope in the vast darkness. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The Concordat, now bound together by a shared victory and a shared destiny, had a new ally. Humanity, the species that had been underestimated, the species that had ignored the warnings, the species whose fleet had drifted beyond sound, had proven its worth. And they were ready once again to face the unknown.